That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. As said by Neil Armstrong in 1969, standing on the surface of the moon, bringing victory to the United States in the long space race between the US and the Russians. And after more than 50 years later, in our present time, a new race starts again in the United States, but this time between ambitious billionaires, Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, and Richard Branson, battle for the crown of space travel and tourism. Hi guys, sorry to interrupt, just wanted to ask you kindly to show support by liking and subscribing to push this channel further. Thank you, and back to the video. The trigger for this race and rivalry of private commercial space travel got heated when Jeff Bezos, the founder of Amazon, announced that his space-focused company Blue Origin will launch its first astronaut crew to space via its New Shepard spacecraft on July 20th, 2021, on the 52nd anniversary of the Apollo 11 moon landing. And indeed they did. And it was a success, going 3 times the speed of light and spending a couple of minutes above the Kármán line, which is a line that was defined to be 100 kilometers, or 62 miles above Earth's sea level. And while aboard this suborbital trip was Bezos himself, along with his brother Mark and the 82-year-old female pilot Wally Funk, who was part of the Project Mercury 13, which was planned by NASA in the 60s to be the first group of women to go to space, but unfortunately it got cancelled. And yet today Wally achieves her dreams and becomes the oldest person to ever go to space. And an unidentified person who, on a side note, paid $28 million in an auction for a seat on the spacecraft. But in the last moments, the bidder had to back out because of schedule conflicts. So someone else bought the ticket to the ride of a lifetime for the youngest person to ever go to space, 18 years old Oliver Damon. And on the other hand, the billionaire entrepreneur Richard Branson tried to beat Bezos to space through his space tourism company Virgin Galactic, which announced that it will attempt to launch its next test spaceflight, the Virgin's VSS Unity spaceplane, on July 11th, 2021, and indeed the spaceflight went smooth, with Branson on board. And the company expects to do 2 additional test flights before opening up commercial services in 2022. And if successful, this would mark a key milestone in a race to lead in a new era of private commercial space travel. While Elon Musk was happy to consider this race as a sideshow, Elon Musk's SpaceX is planning to launch 4 passengers on an orbital flight in the 4th quarter of this year, in what is considered to be the first all-civilian spaceflight in history. The mission aboard SpaceX's Dragon spacecraft will feature a 4-person crew, commanded by tech entrepreneur Jared Isaacman, in a charity-focused mission. Elon Musk's private spaceflight company SpaceX, founded over 2 decades ago, launched its first manned flight last year, and was the first non-government vessel to dock a crew at the International Space Station. A new 4-astronaut team reached the ISS in late April, propelled into orbit by a rocket booster, recycled from a previous spaceflight. And that forms a large part of Musk's dream to make humanity a multi-planet species, triggered by existential threats such as an asteroid collision big enough to wipe out humanity, or the end of Earth's materials. So the prototypes to get to Mars are being tested to ensure that the deep space vessel Starship becomes a fully reusable transport system, capable of carrying up to 100 people to the red planet per flight. But space tourism isn't the main and only focus of these billionaires. They think beyond that, through different projects that go beyond Earth's orbit, not only for commercial gain but mainly for science and humanity. So besides Bezos and his plans about humans working and living in space, and Richard's focus on space tourism, Musk's plan is to colonize Mars by the mid-2020s. Also, NASA has chosen SpaceX to build the next generation spacecraft that will return humans to the moon, further improving his grip on the public-private space industry race. The $2.9 contract to build the lunar lander that will spearhead the Artemis program, NASA's ambitious project to return to the moon for the first time since the final Apollo mission in 1972. And in the end, what we can be sure of is that the evolution and the advancement of space travel, commercially or scientifically, is beneficial to the future of humans and their survival, and understanding of life and the world as a whole. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed, give this video a thumbs up and subscribe. And if you didn't, or you have an opinion or video topic suggestion, tell me in the comments.